Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia. I want to thank everyone for tuning in from all over the Commonwealth, from Auckland, New Zealand, across the pond to Sydney, north to Melbourne, across to Perth, and northwest to London, up to Dublin, across to Edinburgh, and across the pond to Toronto, and then down to Miami, across to Los Angeles, and back up to Vancouver and across to Merritt, British Columbia. Welcome to Trends in the Housing Market. It is I, your housing discussion guru, Mike Martins. Been running trends in the housing market over 3 years now, and it's been going very smoothly. And don't forget, guys, to come on the live show. If you're listening to this on replay, a lot of people watch this show and listen to it on replay to find out what are the top trends in the housing market when it comes into, when looking at the Commonwealth and Western United States that have been completely bought out under us. Completely. I mean, pulled a fast one, if you want to say. Pulled the wool over our eyes, if you want to throw it that way. Yeah, anyways. So don't forget to roll on your comments live here, and don't forget to add me on Skype if you want to join the show at Mike Martins 1980, Mike Martins, MikeMartins 1980, to come on Skype and be part of this housing disaster fiasco that we are discussing here. So local time here is 7 p.m., and it's time to rock and roll. So some of the channel news here, we got Mike in the Night from last Saturday, which is really good. We got Supreme Cannon. I think we got Steve the Plumber on. I think we got quite a few people on the show that night. The Raven, we had everybody on this show on the last Mike in the Night. And we got Trends in the Housing Market from last week. Was a very impactful show. Really good show. If you missed last week's show, go ahead and catch it. And it goes back for years. So if you got like a lot of time in your hands and you want to binge watch the channel, go ahead. Can read Market Talk. We're covering this morning the market manipulation and the spoofing in the silver and gold market, and with the guys from JP Morgan that are under oath right now and testifying that they have basically pull the wool over our eyes once again. And then we got Morning Coffee with Mike, just rolling around town, talking about what's going on. And big story here, and before I kick off the two big stories tonight, I got two major stories on the headlines right now in the housing in the Commonwealth. And it is actually very interesting. Oh, guys, no one's getting notifications, by the way. I just kind of want to throw that out there. No one's getting notifications from my channel anymore. They've actually cut back. I got a email from my last month's of August discussion of my channel and views, new views, dislikes, likes, the whole 9 yards. So they sent me an email and basically telling me that nobody, depending on the rating, the internal YouTube rating, and also no one could see my subscribers apparently or something. Let me see here. Oh, it's over here. The other day, my subscribers were gone and it said no subscribers. That's what it said the other day. I'm not kidding. So, yeah, kind of interesting what's happening. So, Kevin Thompson in the house. Woo! So, Kevin, did you actually get a notification for this or you came on? Be honest with me. Just be honest. Because nobody's getting notifications for any of my shows anymore. And I'll get a lot of people messaging me on Skype. I got 89 messages the other day on Skype. I have them here. And everyone's saying, I don't get notifications when you're on anymore, Mike. I don't know what to do. You know? So, all right. Australian construction companies. Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel. Construction companies in New South Wales collapsing at record rate as buildings slow down by went under 101. I like when paid. Nobody's getting paid, I say. And see what's happening? Let's continue. That's today's video, guys. What's up? Jordan Terrero in the house. Jordan and Retro in the house. Solid Extra in the house. Okay, so this is the video I did today, and it's kind of important because it discusses here this article, construction companies in New South Wales collapsing at record rate as building slows down bites. So construction companies are heavily heavily defaulting right now. And that's a huge problem when you're in looking at the housing market as a potential investment or something for long term, right? But this is kind of a problem. So before we get into that, I'm going to plug the channel. Guys, don't forget to support me on Patreon. I got 17 Patreon supporters. Hopefully I could have 20 by Christmas. And so here it is. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this video, well, the getting concrete guys not getting paid, framing guys not getting paid, roofing guys not getting paid, nobody's getting paid, I say. And see what's happening? Let's continue. So, let's discuss this and what's happening with this. This is a huge deal. And everything's originating in Australia. And it's going to go to New Zealand, then the United Kingdom, and then Canada and Western United States. Central and Eastern United States won't be hit as hard. It's Western United States. So we got Scott Kemp. Hey, Mike Martin's first time watching live. Thank you for joining us. We got Robert Andre saying, stucco guy not getting paid. Yeah, man. Yeah. And nobody gets paid, I say. That's right, man. So this is what's happening. So now, there's a comment on here I want to share with you guys. This is from TD Crooks from TD Bank. These reports may make it seem as though the market is about to crash, and this small community of viewers may be hoping for a crash. But from my experience, more than 80% of the population just see 800K to 1 million housing as the going rate. In Toronto, 3 people at my workplace recently, one bought a $900,000 home, one put an offer on for $1.1 million home, the other guy put $170,000 over asking on a $700,000 home, but got overbid by someone else with a $220,000 over asking bid. Anyone who watches this channel who is hoping for an affordable housing, forget it. Too many are willing to take on endless debt. So there's too many willing to take on endless debt. So I guess if you have an exit strategy, so if you do buy $1 million house that's realistically worth 160 grand, and you have an exit strategy, I guess. I don't know how to, and then Kevin Thompson here is saying, in the comments, saying, this guy's on serious drugs. Listen to how fast he's talking. Guys, trust me, real estate is going up in the GTA. Don't wait to buy. Prices will never come down. Buy now. And then there's a reply that says, and real Kevin Thompson wants to bankrupt you now or later. So I kind of wanted to say this. I got to say this one more time here. General feel I'm getting from talking to my fellow liquidators is that the building industry subbies just slowed down paying the little ones construction companies. It's a spiral. It's a bit of a scurry. And at the end, make sure you got paid before it all falls over. Oh, yeah. Tons of companies not getting, concrete guys not getting paid. Framing guys not getting paid. Roofing guys not getting paid. Nobody's getting paid, I say. And see what's happening? Yeah, I say. Anyways, super slow down. My wife works with a major builder in the area. Sales have went from 60 to 80 homes per month to just 20 homes. Tell this, VIP says, tell this person to watch American Housing 0607. Yeah, this person here. Maybe you guys could go and comment on the video. I'll leave a link in there. I have his comment pinned to the top. So if you guys want to go in there, essay, and actually comment, it's right here, TD Rocks. Maybe, we could save this guy, potentially, if he does decide to pay $170,000 over asking for a house that's really, $1 million. Okay, let me just get to my point here. Let's see if that comes up in the news. the 2-bedroom. That video I did with that I think they took down the post. Ever since I put up the video the other day about this house, this it's called Effin' Housing Ripoff. This house here. So what? Not that house. 5 bath. This house. $5.5 million. Ever since I put up this video, the post was taken down. I don't know why the hell they will take it down. That 2-bedroom, 2-bath for 2,000 square feet. That $5.5 million, guys. That's a friggin' deal right there. Essay. Jeff O'Toole saying the waiting sets us apart. If you can't wait, buy. That's it. eBankU says, and here I am considering to buy a house for $100,000, but maybe I should pass and buy a $2 million house in Vancouver. No! Buy this thing! Buy this thing for $5.5 million bucks. Look at this thing. I don't know if it's got running water. Probably it's got running water in it. It's got old the windows are like 100. This door is like 1,000,000 years old. I don't even know how you'd fit furniture through this like 30-inch World War I historical door here. But, well. Renoviction coming soon. eBankU definitely buying van. Yeah, man. Author Askey is saying, I'm buying van, man. Anyways. All right, let's get back to what's happening. So, construction companies in New South Wales collapsing at record rate as building slowdown bites. So, you're getting 169 construction companies went into administration receivership or a court-ordered shutdown. There you go, guys. And since over the whole 2018 and 19 fiscal year, 556 construction companies went under. Something's gonna have to give soon. New South Wales been hit by construction slowdown, resulting in stressed companies going under at record rate. This is crucial. Welcome to Sydney's ghost towers. Record apartment rental vacancies. Look at that. That one's nice. It's like half built. This guy chilling out there. Maybe gonna smoke a nice cigarette. Or maybe vape. Maybe have a vape. You know? Up until a few years ago, Sam Lozano's garden supply store received all-day sunlight. But these days, from about lunchtime, a big shadow cast over his shop. We always knew that the area embarked for development. We just didn't realize how big it would get. So there it is. Yeah, keep going, baby. Keep going. Up, up, up! All right, let's move on here. Now, this is another major story. Housing crisis affects an estimated 8.4 million in England. Not in the UK. In England. Estimated 8.4 million people in England are living in unaffordable, insecure, and unstable home, according to the National Housing Federation. Well, of course they are. So eBankU is going to buy a place 30 minutes outside of Tokyo for 100 grand. Real Kevin Thompson is promoting everyone to buy. Yeah, maybe we should get Kevin Thompson to insure. Could insure what when people default so he could cover the mortgage because he's so sure on what he's saying. Real Kevin Thompson is so sure on what he's saying that he's willing to cover your mortgage if there's a loss or if your property goes below the valued price that you bought it for. Jeff O'Toole says, good things come to those who wait. It is excruciating, but it will fall. Not for the faint of heart. Oh, this is crazy. Gary Medeiros. Gary Medeiros is in the house, and I'd like to have him on the show to tell us what's going on in his neck of the woods, because he's looking to buy. He's been on the sidelines for many, many, many years now. Well, I don't know how many years, but he's been a while on the sidelines trying to get a place for him and his family, his wife, and it's tough. It's not easy, you know. So, housing crisis affects estimated 8.4 million in England. So that's not good. Construction biting the dust. Construction companies collapsing in Australia. Let's move on. Another one rides a bus. Another one rides a bus. Canada's richest households are seeing income grow 6 times faster than the bottom 99. Oh, yeah, it's a monopoly, and richest households are getting the cream of the crop. I rise to the top. I never eat no pig, 'cause a pig is a cop. So, real Kevin Thompson in the house. Rainier Mola in the house, E-Bank U in the house, Matsky in the house, Arthur Askey in the house, Pist in the house. And what else? He has a comment here. Canada won't suffer as bad as we are sweet a country and we are underdeveloped. Anything built and established is worth more than you all think. Well, he has a right there at the rate of inflation. But then it just goes back to wages. It gears back to wages and first-time home buyers not getting in the market, right? People exchanging homes between each other means nothing. It's the first-time buyers that they need in the markets to actually make a difference, right? They're going to lower rates. They're going to keep this thing going for a little while longer. It's going to be really nice. Mike, how is the farmland markets looking like? Farmland is not moving well right now. Housing is here in the small town I live in. Houses go on for sale and they're sold the next day. Because you got these like 6-7 bedroom homes selling for $400,000, right? $500,000, right? So I bought mine at $260,000. So I'm okay. You know what I mean, SA? So they're spoofing the housing market, guys, is what they're doing. They're spoofing the housing market. So especially with all the shadow flipping and all the illegal money that came into the country, they're spoofing the markets so the markets look like they're so overvalued and it's the greatest opportunity of a lifetime and everyone's getting rich on paper. And that's not all she wrote, because there's a final chapter coming very soon. Gary Medeiros is saying recession starting fall 2019. Oh, yes, he is on the money with that. That's... if not, yeah, fall right now. It's kicking off. So here, Canada's richest, of course, they're making more. They're monopolizing on our poor, bad business decisions. Remember, guys, it's musical chairs. And every time the song ends, one person gets left out. But who makes it or who gets the top all the time? The top 1% that's playing the music for us while we play their game. Pest saying, as the world melts, our country will continue to receive foreign money. That is very true. That he's not lying. Canada is bringing in 500,000 wealthy Chinese per year, and we can't compete with that. Like, the Canadian proper's finished. I think Australia is really trying to push the buttons to try and get more foreign ownership in there, but Australia is losing the war to Canada right now with foreign wealthy investors. KCC PAC in the house. Solid Extra saying, Game Raderos, where is the recession starting this fall? In Canada, US, etc. Real Kevin Thompson saying, stop trying to time the market. Look, this market's been timed and overtimed and overclocked, and it's bola parada right now. We're playing bola parada. We're playing overtime now. Okay? It's not good. So we got Author Askey saying, all planned long ago. Yeah, that's double A's right in the comments there. Owen, Canada is shaking the money tree. That's right. Canada's going into the money markets actually right now. Canada's looking into the money markets too to get their bonds. And not only that, government-backed debt kind of deleveraged into more of the corporate sector from what I'm seeing right now. Could we get somebody? Where's Owen? Where the hell's Owen? Owen, I need you on the show, man. Where the hell are you? I need Gary Medeiros. I haven't heard from you in a while. Where the hell are you, man? I need you, man. There's a lot of people here. I got too many people on. Let's get the Lost Canuck. I mean, I haven't heard from this guy in a while. I wonder if he's like watching the show, if he's in Canada, and where he's at. Let's see if he picks up or he connects. Yeah, he's not picking up. I'm not sure where he's at. I'm just trying to see. Guys, message me on Mike Martins 1980. Want to know what you guys think of the heck is going on out there. Bank of Canada, Canadian homeowners have extracted hundreds of billions in equity. So who are these Canadian homeowners? It's the Canadian proper. It's the people that have been first, second, third, fourth generation Canadians that basically used their equity in their homes that they've been saving for their retirement to live the good life. Now, they're using that equity to eat a meal. They're using that equity to snack on chips. They're using that equity on everything humanly possible to devour, to eat as food, because people can't afford food now. It's getting to the point where car insurance is getting out of reach. People have already adopted to walking everywhere and riding a bike in transit. And they're not trying to be green. You're like, oh, I'm just trying to be green and help the environment. Bull crap. You give them the keys to a Corvette, they'll take off in it before you even look over where they are. Yep, Papa PS is saying grandma's going broke folks don't count on inheritance. There it is. Look at those rated security boxes here. Billions, hundreds of billions, not billions, hundreds of billions. Kevin Thompson says they use the equity to buy more properties now. Then Rainier Mullah says, real Kevin Thompson, nah. Renovations, it's Reno seasons. I looked at the stats, about 25% was for cars and vacations, and the other 75% was for renos. Real Kevin Thompson saying, my wife's grandma just died with $1.5 million in the bank. Woo! Vancouver real estate is once again the fastest cooling market in Canada. So, I already read this to you guys. What's happening in the Lower Mainland is very interesting because of this reverted sales to listings ratio. So, the places that are booming right now are Gatineau, I think it's in Quebec, Halifax, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Quebec, Regina, Hamilton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Thunder Bay. And then in the negative territory is obviously Vancouver, Fraser Valley, and Victoria. Now, guys, take a really close look at this right here. And what does this tell you? Vancouver, Fraser Valley, Victoria. Victoria, Fraser Valley, Vancouver. They're all in the province of British Columbia. And what does this tell you? That they're getting hit hard in the pants or in the groin or somewhere there. They're getting hit hard, pretty hard. Yeah. Papa Paste is saying, I'm in Gatineau. Price wars. Oh, yeah, bad. Oh, it's price wars, man. The average house 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before all this crap, like 240 grand in Gatineau. Now they're fighting it all up and this and that and eating up all the scraps and whatever they can take from this housing market. Yeah. So, I just wanted to kind of throw up a few of these stories, but this is very important. This graph tells you right now what's selling and what isn't. And right now, Vancouver's at negative 12.3% in sales, and so is the Fraser Valley. This is for sales to new listings ratio, right? And the ones that did sell in Vancouver, even though it's down, how many years have they been, or how many days have they been on the market for sale, right? Is rural property still cheap in BC? Yeah, if you get up to 100 Mile House, Boston Bar area, you can still buy something for around 150, 200,000 up in that area there. Scott Kemp, Trudy needs to go. Woo! Trudy. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about Trudy and Tootie from The Facts of Life. And Real Kevin Thompson says, I paid her back in full years before she died. He's such a nice guy, Kevin Thompson. Trudy is done. You guys think Trudy is going to get reelected? Supreme Canada, rural property can be cheap, but if you need engineered, septic, etc., it's not cheap for long. That's why you got to get a bunch of Mexicans to come up and work, man. Like, anything you get done in Canada is like 50 times the price of the United States. If I have to get body work done on my car or get a paint job on my car, I'll just drive it down to Northern California, stay a few days, take in some espressos, go to the beach, and then get my body work done for a quarter of the price of what they charge up here. So, get some good, hard-labored workers, like a bunch of Portuguese from Ontario, to come and do some, cement finishing and to do some of the framing and stuff and plumbing. You get some Portuguese to come in. They'll do the work, man, to drink a case of beer. Everyone's cool, Yeah, so eBanQ saying, if you already got in while it's cheap, but once the rent versus cost ratio gets too high, it ain't worth it. See what we have here. Let me get Supreme Canada and see what he has to tell us. Let me see what else is going on here in the headlines. Ontario allow community housing agency to reject tenants evicted for crime. So if you commit a crime, there's a good chance you won't get social housing anymore. SNC-Lavalin scandal drowning out housing crisis concerns, Vancouver Granville candidate says. Of course! Yeah! You know what the most important thing is than housing affordability? Is climate change! Yeah! Woo! Climate change. I read an article the other day. Most Australians are more concerned about climate change than they are affordable housing. I hope they're hoping the climate change is nice and warm, because you don't want to freeze your butt off outside when you're homeless. Singh pledges to tackle BC housing crisis. This guy here, what's his name? Jagmeet Singh announces plans to deal with the crisis around the price of housing and makes a campaign to stop in Vancouver on Wednesday, September 25th. The Canadian Press, Andrew Vaughan, Canadian Press. So this guy here in this nice blue jacket is looking to tackle the housing affordability issue. It just doesn't work like that. Housing market is always a tricky market to play games with. Okay, you could spoof the bond market. You could screw around with the stocks because you're screwing around with investors. But then when you start screwing around with the housing, you start screwing with middle class, you start screwing with their jobs, and you start screwing with their lives. Okay? They need to stop playing with our lives. Because that's what they're doing. They're playing with our futures and they're playing with our lives when they play these games. I don't care what happens in the bond. Well, I invest in the stock market and stuff. But if I take a loss because somebody rigged the market, fine. But if someone can't live somewhere because they're spoofing the housing market so more people can make more gains on paper and then deleverage that equity, invest it in other things, then they're just really, really screwing everybody else up. They're playing with people's lives, and that's what's been happening. It's not as easy as said. It's not easier said than done, and that's the problem. Screw with the bond market. Screw with the hedge funds. Screw with everything. Screw with everything. But stop screwing with people's lives, because that's what you're doing now when they start ramping up the price of housing. Owen says, as Mike will say, fangulo, right here. Fangulo. All right, let's get, I don't even know where half the people are here. Let's get the, I wonder who's watching. Who's watching? I saw Supreme Cannon in the comments. Let me see if he's available. Supreme, get on your phone.
Hey, buddy.
How are you, my brother?
So far so good. How's your week going?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just reading Pap's comments. Get jobs is good sectors and quit complaining. Get into healthcare, HVAC, trades, programming, machine, liptard arts, and environmental degrees. Yeah, he's right about that.
That's good advice.
Yep.
It's always good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is going on with it's getting to this point where it's like you got these JP Morgan guys right now testifying that they've been spoofing the metal markets and they've been screwing around with the metal markets and gold markets and stuff and
Yeah.
manipulating things, okay? So you get the manipulated bond market, you get a manipulated metal market, you get a manipulated oil market, you get a manipulated everything. Why don't they just keep that damn crap in the markets, right? Instead of bringing it out and spoofing the housing market. The housing market spoofed, and guess what? It's the middle class and the working poor now that suffers because of this greed that they can't keep in the lumber industry and the freaking leave it in the markets, leave the housing alone.
Well, they should do that. But part of the reason the housing market got so high is, as we've discussed many times, we've been deindustrializing in North America for 25 years. And housing is about the only heavy industry, that's lucrative. Plus, of course, as long as people's assessments go up every year, well, then on paper, they've got money. They're wealthy. That goes on their bottom line. That goes as an asset. So, and there's still a shocking number of people in this country believe that real estate only goes up. They didn't get whacked bad enough in 2008, 2009. So they probably have to keep it propped up any way they can, simply because if they admit that it's still too damn high. It needs to come down. That by itself would create fear.
I think
They don't want
one thing
panic.
here, I'm even looking at an article. Listen to this. Explosive growth in international students. Like, we're getting more and more international students. We're not even catering to our own students in here because they just can't afford the education anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like Papa Pappas said, the real agenda is population reduction. It's population replacement, it's diversity, it's yeah, exactly, Rainer. Millennials don't know because housing didn't crash in Canada like it did in the States and elsewhere around the world. So they don't know. They just assume that this is normal.
Yeah,
The people who saw things 20 years ago, of course, know very well that it's not normal. It's an absolute travesty. Housing by itself is a manipulated market, okay, and it needs to come down because it's a basic requirement. You don't need stocks to live. You don't need gold and silver to live, right? But everybody needs housing. It's just another commodity, and they let it go because, as we've said many times, it's on paper, it's wealth that people have just by getting into a house, and then or into a living unit of some kind, and then on top of that, of course, to the cities, the town councils. If your property values are going up, well, then that's more money in your coffers so that you can buy votes and spend on all kinds of other silly things, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, Papa Papist again. Real estate agents are highly complicit. Start by regulating those lying bastards. They sell houses. They don't care if it's a good deal or not.
Yeah.
That's their job. That's their career. They're talking that stuff up like guys in the car lots are talking up that beautiful 2004 Chevy Cobalt, right, with low miles, and it's like new. They're just trying to move boxes. That's
Yeah,
all.
or,
They
or,
don't
or
they don't care.
boxes in the sky.
Yeah, and it's like the companies that issue the loans to these people who are underqualified, right? They move money out the door. They produce loans like sawmills produce lumber. They just got to keep those numbers up so that they can keep their numbers up. They don't care. Caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. And most buyers in Canada are shockingly non-inquisitive.
Mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm.
just think Canada is safe and boring and everything is looked after and everything is honest and on the up and up. And okay, you take out an $800,000 mortgage for a condo, but as far as they're concerned, at least up until the last couple of years, every year you saw your property assessment and it showed, yeah, you have an $800,000 investment. So to their mind, they haven't lost anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? The balance sheet shows assets and liabilities in balance, so it looks good on paper.
Okay, well, listen to this. Over the whole 2018-2019 fiscal year, 556 construction company went under, 101 more than the previous fiscal year. This is in New South Wales, Australia.
Yeah.
556 construction companies went under. That's a lot of unemployment. That's a lot of material not being bought up by suppliers, by contractors. That's a lot of contracts basically that are not happening anymore.
That's right. That's right. Well, I saw it around here. I mean, locally, and you see it in every. Definitely see it in urban centers. You know that you've got a bubble, a mania of some kind, because everybody goes out, buys a hammer or an air nailer, and puts up a sign saying they're a builder, right? So a lot of these people that are going under, they were marginal. They got into the market because it was red hot, and they reached the point where they built some spec homes and now they can't sell them for what they leveraged themselves into to build them for. So yeah, they're going under. They just declare bankruptcy and walk away. But that's a high number for for one province in Australia. That's painful. It's got to be painful. Plus, yeah, every contractor has probably got at least 2 or 3 full-time employees, and they're paying benefits and all kinds of things. And now all those people are sitting home or going to look for work for somebody else.
Probably serving coffee at Tim Hortons.
Probably serving coffee at Tim Hortons or the Australian equivalent, you bet.
Housing crisis affects estimated 8.4 million in England.
Ugh. Yeah. Well, and how many people in England? There's 60 million in the UK, give or take,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's an enormous number. That's 12 or 15%. Like that's a disgusting number.
Estimated 8.4 million people in England are living in an unaffordable, insecure, unsustainable home, according to the National Housing Federation.
Yeah, it's just stretched thin and tight, like, and think of the effect that that has on people, right? On their nerves, on their mental state, on their family relations. I think this is part of the reason why you have such a high divorce rate in that part of the world, or people just flat out not getting married, or having families. They just don't see a future, and it just drags on year after year, decade after decade, and people get sick of it. And it gets to the point where there's no human reason for these prices to be that high. Then you know that it's a manipulation of some kind, because some of these neighborhoods are not desirable. Like look at San Francisco. San Francisco is a famous city and by all accounts a beautiful city, but when you've got whole areas of it that are full of dirty needles and human feces every morning, and all kinds of petty crime.
Portland and Seattle are both like that too. The whole West Coast.
The whole West Coast and parts of Vancouver are probably going to start getting like that.
San
Indoor stress is
Diego's
killing
gotten
people.
really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, I bet it has. I bet it has, and for the same reason. You've got a lot of people, and they're on the coast because the weather's good. If you don't have a home, you got to sleep outside or in a tent. Like we're talking about last week. Ravens ex there. Yeah, you're not going to be homeless in Winnipeg when it's minus 30. You're going to the coast. You're going to go to San Francisco. You're going to go to Vancouver or San Diego. You're going to go somewhere where there's warm ocean breezes and, hopefully cheap food, even if you're just eating, ramen noodles and yogurt, right? But at least you get your welfare check, and then you can go to a Quickie Mart and get some stuff, right?
Okay,
it's bad.
How many people do you think are sleeping rough right now in England? Not in the UK, in England. How many people do you think, in your opinion?
Well, if you got a housing crisis involving 8.4 million, which doesn't mean they're necessarily all on the street, but they're having trouble making their payments, I would imagine even 1% of that would be 84,000.
Well, it's 400,000 are homeless.
400,000 are homeless in the UK.
No, in England.
Oh, in England. Well, yeah. Scotland would be too cold. The Scottish would probably be moving down to southern England. Yeah. Yeah, they'll get snow, but it gets cold and rainy.
400,000 are homeless, including people sleeping rough, living in homeless shelters, temporary accommodation, and sofa surfing.
That's brutal.
400,000.
Yeah, but supposedly the UK economy is just booming right now.
Oh God, it's an opportunity of a lifetime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, how many of those people, what percentage of those people would be unemployable, either through mental illness or they don't speak the language, they just got there from wherever in the world they came from? Is it broke down ethnically, or is this actual, English people that are homeless?
I don't know if it's British proper. I don't know. And then it's just giving me here, the research estimated 3.6 million people are living in overcrowded homes with 16 plus more people.
Well, there's a lot of that too. And again, I'm inclined to think that a lot of that is all of the migrants that they've been bringing in, because you remember what happened a year or two ago when you had that fire in Grenfell Towers, and all those people were trapped in that building and burned up. And I think it wound up being a couple of hundred, but I mean, who knows how many were crammed in there. But they were using open flame to cook. They were absolutely unassimilated. They weren't using a hot plate to make soup. They were, kindling a fire on the floor. It was brutal.
Oh.
Yeah. No, and the building was not made with the cladding on the outside was not fireproof. It was very substandard. It was another one of those buildings that in a boom gets thrown up, like Opal Towers. They want to get the stuff up and standing and get people into them as soon as possible, and they start cutting corners, especially when you start getting building companies run by people who are not Anglo-Saxons and don't really care about the regulations so much.
So here's somebody in London that's living in a cupboard, like where you
Cupboard. Oh yeah,
put your dishes.
yeah. Or I think a cupboard in the UK is like a closet.
Yeah, 22 square feet.
22 square feet. Yeah, 4 by 5. Yeah, you're not even room to stretch out probably.
Hmm.
That's awful. That's terrible. But you've reached a point where you've got so few people forming households over there that everyone has their own place, which initially, well, it sounds great, right? Mom and dad split up. Now you're gonna, the realtors are rubbing their hands because now they're selling two houses instead of just one, or they're liquidating their big house and they're both moving into small condos. Just an incredible destruction of family wealth. And the other side of that coin is, yeah, pretty much everybody has to have their own place, and they're not making that much money.
Hmm.
And no one's making that much money when real estate quadruples in 20 years. The wages
20
don't keep
years.
up.
You're being very conservative. Like try like 8 years.
Well, it's really gotten bad in the last 8 years. I just remember, 99, 2000 when prices were at their absolute low around here.
Hmm.
If you had a decent job, no, everything was still affordable around here. It's not so great now.
16. What was it? 3.6 million people living in accommodations with 16 plus people. So imagine the worst one I read was one from New Zealand, where in Auckland there was 23 people to the home.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
It's like a
That's
kennel. It
that's
feels like a
amazing.
dog kennel then.
Well, it is. You see the pod housing that they've got in Southern California now. I guess for people that want to work in Silicon Valley, it's just bunk beds. It looks like a dormitory. It's just literal open space with bunk beds, and everybody's got their own bunk bed, and they pay $1,200 US per month
Yeah, I
for that
covered that
bunk
a few
bed.
months ago. Remember?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm seeing it starting to show up on Twitter and places like that. It's making the rounds now. Yeah, it's brutal. It's just absolutely brutal. But people don't live like that, expecting they're going to live like that forever. A big problem we have in the Western world is we don't really think of ourselves as poor. We just think we're millionaires that are temporarily short on cash. You
Here it
know
is.
what I mean?
This bunk
Yeah,
bed is
that's
twelve
the
hundred
place.
dollars a month, privacy not included. So let me play this video so people could see. I covered
Yeah.
this. When was this article? I remember covering this July the 5th. Yeah, we covered it over the summer, but let's play the video for people to watch. It's a beautiful, beautiful accommodation here for 1,200 US. That's about 1660
Podshare
Canadian.
is affordable shared housing that we build across Los Angeles, and here in San Francisco is our
Yeah,
first
see
site.
if it'll spin up.
The idea, it's membership-based housing, so if you book a pod, you can stay across the whole network of locations.
1,200 a month, I say.
I was born in the USSR
Yeah.
in 1985.
Yeah,
My
that's
whole
insane.
concept was like the idea of the government giving you everything in a communist state. What if you could subscribe to a housing membership and have all your needs met?
Yeah,
In the
it
fridge,
just
there should be,
a
like,
young woman
cereal,
probably
ramen,
moved from somewhere else in the
collegiate
country.
foods, and there should always be
She's
toothpaste,
working,
and toilet paper,
probably
and just
working
these
for some
basic
software
things that you
company
just
or
need to
some,
live, like they should just be
graphic
handled for you.
design
And
firm or
that's
something
kind of
like
the
that.
concept of Podshare.
Pursuing
You
her
just share
dream like they
pods
tell everybody
across
to
a
do.
network
Probably
with
got,
people,
$50,000 in
friends.
student loan debt and, living like that.
I don't know. I don't. Is this just? Am I just okay? Like let's call a spade here, okay, Supreme.
Sure.
Am I just becoming cynical and old, and I'm not seeing the abundance and the greatness here, or am I just turning into an old cynical fart?
Oh, I think that happens anyway, but part of it is you get older, you get jaded. I mean, let's face it, we're used to better. We're used to our labor buying us a lot more than it used to. And these kids, like, they don't know any better. And a lot of them, I'll be honest with you, I don't think a lot of them are dreaming that they're going to move out of here someday and go do something else. I think they think this is just how it is now. And so they're used to the idea of communal living spaces, and I think a lot of them are. It reminds me of the attempts at communal living during the hippie days, right, where everyone would go live out in the woods with a piece of land and they grow their own food and set up their own community, and off grid and the rest of it, and everyone would share and hold everything in common, and and it was an idealistic communal experience. The problem is that some people work, some don't. Some people, you've got couples and they're happy, and others are, jumping from bed to bed and cheating. Some of them are just high all day and they don't want to do anything. They're just getting away from home and hiding from their parents, so their parents can't see how they're living. And I think they'll get sick of it. And when they get sick of it, or at least they get sick of each other,
it looks like this guy cuts his
then
own
they'll move
hair
back
too.
home.
I'm looking at this video here.
Yeah.
Bathroom, but I will show you the bottom.
Yeah, I cut my own hair. I think you're right.
There's obviously a mattress, pillows.
Yeah,
linens,
it's just
your
screwed. It's
essentials.
just totally screwed.
This is my
I
palette
can't
here.
imagine that
As
they
most people
want
know,
to
like housing in San
live
Francisco.
like this forever. They've got a reason. They've got things going on in their lives. I don't think that they might be reconciled that this is what I have to do to get ahead in the world. When you see pictures of dormitories and employee housing in the early 20th century, industrial areas, factory cities and things like that, you saw a lot of this. Mm-hmm. But people rebelled after a while, and they said, we don't want this. We want more. We want our share. And initially, there was a lot of violence because the smokestack barons, the big capitalists, they weren't interested in that at all.
We got B-Pod here saying we need to close the borders big time. Rich foreigners, especially Chinese, are killing the prospects of young families to get into the housing. Disgraceful. So this ties back to the whole Trudeau Act that was passed pretty much 3 months after he became prime minister. He basically opened and wanted to compete for rich Chinese investors. So if you want to find the article, it's called Canada Wants More Chinese. Now, I'm not picking on the Chinese, because if it was the Russians, I say that it's the Russians. If it was the Portuguese, I would say it's this damn Portuguese doing this. But unfortunately, it's not any of those groups. It is the Chinese. So the article reads here, Canada wants more Chinese students and tourists immigration. He gets to the punchline. Visas have been increasing from China for 500,000 per year. What would be a healthy immigration number, like a number of immigrants that Canada could afford to bring in without jeopardizing our locals from work, without jeopardizing our infrastructure, without jeopardizing our everything, our environment? What is Supreme, in your opinion? What do you think would be a healthy 500,000? That's just from China. So you got all these people coming from Somalia. You got people coming from India, like all these other countries. What in your opinion is a healthy number of immigrants to come into Canada? Remember, we're built off immigration. I'm an immigrant, right? So what is a healthy number in your opinion? But 500,000 just from China? We have 30 million people. How the hell could we sustain that?
You have to start from zero. It would be, okay, well, if we need more people, if we need more workers to keep economic expansion going, assuming that you have economic expansion, which is certainly debatable right now, the number is zero. The number is right now, if you've got people that aren't working or are underemployed, the number needs to be zero. So why would they be bringing in 500,000? I'm inclined to think that the Chinese government is exerting some leverage on Ottawa and probably greasing some palms to keep this going. I think that's part of it, because we don't need 500,000 people right now.
Well, that's just from China, and
that's just
they
from
must
China.
have at least minimum 800,000 US to come in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they got to bring some serious coin to get in here. If they're bringing 800,000, well, that's not so bad. It's better than the ones that are coming in with nothing. I mean, there was a point when Canada was just.
No. You need 800,000 to get in. Period. Like from China.
You need 800,000, but you got lots of refugees coming in here bringing nothing.
That's different. This
and
is
we're paying
under a
for
different act, Immigration Act. This 500,000 Chinese per year does not show up under Canadian Immigration Services for some bizarre reason. None of this shows up. It's only refugees that they show as immigrants, not investors.
Yeah. Well, investors, if they're coming in, they're well-heeled and they're bringing some serious coin. This is this is good. I mean, it's better than not, okay, because they're bringing money, they're supporting themselves, whether there's work for them, whether they're going to set up their own businesses or not. They're bringing some scratch, right? They're not coming in empty-handed. They're not going to be depending on government services,
Well,
right?
hold on.
And
There's a lot of people living in mansions in Vancouver, West
yeah.
Vancouver, collecting welfare.
Well, they're
Because
gaming
they're
the
declaring
system.
their income as zero.
They're declaring their income as zero, but they're still they're gaming the system. So the problem with that is, what's wrong with the system that they can do that? Because there were lots of non-Chinese immigrants. There's lots of people in this country that have been gaming the welfare systems in the different provinces rather, since they were instituted. My first house I bought here in this little town I live in, my neighbor across the street, she spent half of her time getting high, letting her kids run around wild, and with crystals and candles and all that stuff, right? And welfare paid for her house, and her house was 5 years newer than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people milk the system, and so I don't doubt that there are foreigners that already come in here prepared. I mean, they bring scratch into the country, but then they put it in the bank, or they go buy some rental real estate, probably just so they can exploit the other Chinese that are coming in or something, right? And then they see if they can get free money from Ottawa.
Well, here's this really good article here. Calgary tourism groups court visitors from China. So they're giving out pamphlets of Canada and I guess in Mandarin here, and it says tourism industry in Calgary is saying ni hao to the new wave of Chinese tourists ahead of Hainan Airlines inaugurational flight from Beijing June 30th. And they're going to do this 13-hour nonstop flights from Chinese capital to Calgary International, bringing 20,000 new visitors potentially annually, with them millions of tourism dollars, and hopefully they will stay and buy property.
Oh, probably. Keep Calgary's expansion going. I mean, if the oil industry is down, well, then you've got to find other ways to get people in. But in this case, Calgary is just advertising its real estate the way that Amsterdam, ladies in certain parts of Amsterdam advertise their wares in the red light districts. It's like, we've got lots of bare land here that you can come by, bring money, love you long time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's tourism, but it's tourism in quotations. Okay, it's like, it's tourism. Come over here and pump a bunch of money into Alberta so that we can pay our bills until the price of oil goes back up.
And here it is. Nova Scotia hopes to woo Chinese tourists.
Yeah. Yeah. God almighty. Well, I mean, they're definitely an untapped demographic that wave a lot of money around. And it's gotten to the point that no, they're not making the children a priority.
Canada's opening 96 more visa offices in China, so Canada could compete for more Chinese workers and students and lucrative businesses. So they're basically competing with Australia, the UK, and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Well, New Zealand said no to foreign ownership now, so.
Well, we're going to have to put the brakes on here too. I mean, it's not a matter of, okay, these people can't come here because like Rainer said, Asian immigrants are hardworking. They come in here and they hustle. They do great, for the most part. I mean, they have since the 1800s.
My wife's the Philippines. My wife's from the Philippines. And when I met her, everyone's like, oh, your wife just married you so she could be a permanent resident. No, my wife was already a permanent resident. She's a registered nurse. And she worked in Taiwan. She speaks Mandarin, Filipino, English, and understands Portuguese. And when she came into the relationship, she has an RSP savings account, and she has a personal savings account when she came into the relationship with quite a bit of money, a lot of money actually. So it's not she needed to be with me. If it's anything, I needed her to be with me, and not for financial reasons, but it's, I need someone to help me around, like help me get it. You know what I mean, right? But,
well, sure. Marriage is supposed to be teamwork. I mean, you're both supposed to be bringing something to the table. It's not a matter of one has and the other one is there to take. You're both supposed to be bringing something to the table. It isn't just all about love and unicorns and rainbows. I mean, you want to have a family. You want to build a tribe and an empire. You both have to be on side, or it's just not going to happen. right? And then the relationship collapses. I could tell you stories about that, but there's no rancor there. I mean, that wasn't that wasn't malice. It was just a bad idea. That's all. Yeah, even their kids, Asian grades consistently outperform all other ethnic groups, including the whites. Yeah, they're. I mean, they come over here and they hustle. They hustle so that they take advantage of the opportunities that are here. They probably see opportunities that others don't, right? Or they don't want to hustle for.
And we got people saying foreigners are coming to Canada, maxing out on credit cards and flying back home. I covered that on my channel a few months back, where a lot of people were coming into Canada with getting student loans, maxing out credit cards, and then buying up computers and all kinds of stuff, and then taking off.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But there again, easy credit. That's the way people live the way they do. It's easy credit. Like most of the people you see driving around your town in shiny cars and nice homes, they're up to their foreheads in debt. They're just revolving credit and scooping up stuff because they see prices going up, so they chase. They chase the good life and live it for a little while, and I'm just going to go back to China, or I'm going to go back to Thailand or Nigeria or wherever they came from. Having lived the good life.
We got a very good comment here from Jeff O'Toole in the comments saying, "Why is money laundering a campaign promise? Isn't it that it's just a crime and we have the government is to protect us from?" So
they're supposed to.
Yeah, NDP promises new RCMP money laundering unit transparency. That's not going to happen. Scheer promises to launch inquiry into money laundering. The thing is, they start tampering with the money laundering and what's happening and start indicting people and getting people to testify and blah, blah, blah. You know what's going to happen? It's just going to deteriorate the housing market, and then a lot of Canadians that bought at the wrong time will be underwater, and then it's just going to be an all out. And our GDP is shrinking, and right now we're not producing anything. And not only that, we are not our GDP is shrinking, our economy is shrinking every quarter. So we're in a little bit of trouble right now, right? Now, my question is, are banks too big to jail?
Well, they might throw the odd sacrificial lamb out, but the problem is if you start digging into the banks, just like digging into the money laundering, then if they start to uncover where that money went, then sooner or later someone takes their calculator and they realize if we start telling people where this money came from and where it went, and the assets that were overinflated by it. Okay, and you only need a small percentage of foreign buyers to crank up the prices in an entire neighborhood, right? They only have to bid up the prices on 2 or 3 homes in a neighborhood of 100, and there you go. You've gotten everyone's on paper, their homes are worth more. Their real estate assessments will go up to reflect that, which means the governments will collect more tax money. But the reality is the supply of people that could actually pay those prices was never that high. It would be like you're living in a little town in Mexico, and all of a sudden some Canadians or some Americans come in waving cash around that nobody else has. All of a sudden, everybody else in the town is priced out of the market, right? They can't afford anything anymore. Exactly. And then they sit there with those high prices. But if no one else can buy it, well, then the whole thing is artificial.
It's first-time buyers. First-time buyers can't get in the market. Fresh blood can't get in the market. Merry Christmas. Game over.
Yeah, exactly. The young, the up and coming, the ones that want to start families and take part in the property ownership and all that stuff. They don't have a stake in the country anymore. That's a big problem. Ottawa is not concerned with Canadian sovereignty anymore. It's Trudeau set the tone when he said we were a post-national nation. Yes. In other words, we're going to drop our borders. We're going to open up the airlock. We're going to open up the gates. We're going to flood this country with people ostensibly bring in money, but whether they are or not, it doesn't matter. We're going to change the demographic makeup of this country as a technocratic exercise. And as long as the population it's like targeting 2% inflation. If you're targeting, 1 or 2% population growth per year, well, it's tail wagging the dog. Well, more people equals more prosperity. I mean, if you look at the baby boom, you could argue that's exactly what happened. You had a bunch more
Yeah,
people, and then
but we
wealth
were
just increased.
overproducing. We were underemployed. It was different. We were producing and manufacturing at those times. We're not.
Yeah.
We're so many people right now are unproductive. Right now, lots of people are unproductive.
Definitely, and they're not even being compensated for the productivity they do have. Productivity from about 1990 continued to go up, and wages stayed flat that whole time. So everyone's working harder, or you've got more automation and things like that, but wages haven't kept pace with that in years. There's been no reward for all this hard work.
Anthony D is asking, when are you running for Prime Minister, Mike? Nope, I would never ever run for anything. Because you know why? You need to lie. And I'm not in the business to lie. I don't want to. I'd rather be home with my family, honestly, than run the country. I'd rather stay home and be with my family.
Yeah, that's kind of why I never got into politics. It's even why I never got into radio. Mm-hmm. I had the voice for it, and I had people say, man, you should be on the radio. But the reality is, if you're a success in radio or in any kind of broadcast, you have to check your politics at the door. You have to say what you're supposed to say. I don't want to be the grand marshal for the annual Pride Parade. So I wouldn't be employed very long. I'd say things and think things. As soon as someone realized my opinions didn't match theirs, I'd be out of a job. And that's the way it was 30 years ago. It's just got worse now. Mm-hmm. And you know what? If you got any LGBT listening, hey, no rancor whatsoever, but I don't want to know about it any more than you want to hear about what I do in my free time. Yeah, Layla, the Supreme Podcast. Yeah, I'm thinking about it, dear. Maybe if I think I have something to say, I'll definitely do something. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, Supreme and Leathers. That would not be pretty, Papa Papist.
KCC Packet's got a really good point. Beware of property tax crisis. Once the follow-up foreign money dries up, plus recession hits, Canada's foreigners can just leave their properties alone without paying taxes. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be, especially that property prices have gone down. Taxes have been spiking. Crange Standing just donated $1.99. Mike, have you ever heard of blood over intent? Have you ever heard of blood over intent?
I never have. I could Google it, I guess.
Pull the goalie.
Pulling the goalie. Yeah, Crange Standing. Lay it out for us. What is that?
And Low Roller Scratcher says, I remember you ran for mayor last... No, I didn't run for mayor. I ran for city council. And 2 weeks... Okay, so apparently this world is a distraction engine and only blood over intent will save us.
Yeah, I could see that. It's a distraction engine. There's no doubt about it, especially in the last 100 years of mass media. It's definitely distraction. Some of the things we're talking about now, I mean, events have actually moved on. It's constantly keeping the public eye away from the things that they're doing to screw us. I mean,
A fancy way of saying decompartmentalization or decompartmentalization?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, get people focused on one thing while something else is going on. It's common in politics. It's probably common in media. It's just a matter of it's just keep people quiet, keep them asleep while you're working behind the scenes, and then you wake up one day and, oh, by the way, oh, look what happened. Oh, there's cameras on every street corner. Oh, what do you mean I can't own a gun anymore? What do you mean I got to live in a pod and eat bugs to save the planet? Like they try to prep you for this stuff or get you, they put up these trial balloons, and while everyone's obsessing about that, then they go on.
Then all these climate
most
change
of these things don't happen.
Then you have all these climate change advocates flying on jet planes and burning more fossil fuels than small cities do.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But they're playing to their base. I mean, we can point that stuff out all day long. And the people that are absolutely they look for meaning in these global crises, these big picture items, right? And it just consumes their life. I mean, it doesn't matter if their kid is sitting there and the diaper hasn't been changed for 3 days, or they haven't paid their property taxes, or or they're abusing alcohol or something. It's like, well, yeah, but I care about the planet. So my life has meaning. It's just all kinds of alternate religion, really, is all it is. It's just things that give people something to feel, good about themselves for. It's virtue signaling, right? You walk around with a purple ribbon, or you walk around with a blue ribbon, or you walk around with a red ribbon, or you're an anti-bullying, a pink button or something like that. It's just like, I'm so my life is so meaningful because I'm concerned about this. I'm going to do absolutely nothing about it. I'm not going to contribute to it in any way. I'm not going to roll up my sleeves and dig in and fight, but I care. My thoughts are with you, and that's how most people live their lives. It's just meaningless.
Okay, Canada
Terrible.
needs an action to stop shell companies from laundering cash. Most say money laundering in Canada is a problem. Majority of Canadians says BC tops at 90%. People worry about money laundering is a major problem. Money laundering public inquiry commission announces first launch to stop. So here it is. Now, here's the problem. The reason why they're trying to avoid this whole money laundering thing, because if they start cracking down on the money laundering, guess what happens? It affects our GDP. Remember that article I read for you?
Yeah.
Remember the article I read? Is GDP, Canada needs money laundering to help prop its GDP and help keep our economy in the plus. If it wasn't for money laundering, we'd be in a lot of trouble because they laundered over $200 billion. $200 billion in real estate alone through Canada in the last few years.
Yeah, and that 200 billion, okay, where they paid full price or in some cases paid over asking, has cranked up the price of all the houses around them. It's a wealth effect of sorts, right? What happens is if that money gets pulled out and prices start going the other way, well, then that wealth evaporates. So they might start at least, a Potemkin village kind of an inquiry. But when it gets right down to pulling up the floorboards and letting people see the termites, that would cause a collapse in confidence, okay, which they don't want. It might cause a real estate panic. If China has the kind of trouble that it appears they do, they're going to start telling people to sell their property and start bringing that money home. And if that happens, then you're going to have tens of thousands of housing units dumped on the market that have to sell in 6 months to a year. And when they get closer to the end, if they haven't sold, well, then they'll flog them for whatever they can flog them for. And there you go. All this climbing in prices over the last 10 years anyway, is going to go the other way, and it's going to go vertical. It's going to start a panic. And then
Canadian girl in the comments asking, what about tiny homes?
A lot of places the zoning won't permit tiny homes. I actually lived in the Caribou, like in a desolate little place with maybe 200 people in it, and I lived in a mobile home park at the mine I was working at, and I wanted to downsize and put in a park model, some 500 square foot thing, in a trailer court that was 3/4 empty. Zoning wouldn't let me. You had to have something full size. They would not let me move a smaller unit in there. When you get into towns, they probably want a minimum amount of square footage because they don't want to drive down everyone else's prices.
Yeah.
So you would have to start whole communities
from scratch.
And that's why you have these from scratch. And that's why you have these RV sites. You have a place where you can put these things in, put in hundreds of them, and live in a gated community, but it doesn't actually affect the price of the full-size houses next to it. Right, it's high density housing, but no, you won't have actual city streets that are all tiny homes. They won't let that happen.
Crank Standing is saying he donated $1.99 in super chat, saying usher forth the kingdom of heaven on earth. And you know what, Supreme, I'm going to be really frank with you. This crap, this housing, these markets, this modern day slavery we're living in, is all at biblical proportions. It's crazy.
It's pretty amazing, isn't
Nobody
it?
could have
Yeah.
fathomed this 100 years ago.
Yeah. Is there any of the four horsemen that aren't already riding? What are they? War, pestilence, famine, and then the fourth one is death.
No, the fourth one was housing crisis.
The fourth one is housing crisis in a way. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because that term death, death hell rode with them there, and I'm just gonna get into that for a second. It's not proselytizing at all, okay? Where it comes and he kills with death. The actual English translation is he kills with death. Well, what does that mean? Well, the word is thanatos, and thanatos is the death impulse. Basically, what it means is you get driven to death. You get stressed, you get depressed, you're afraid of what's happening, all right, on the earth, what's happening in your own life. You're scared for the future. You're abusing substances. You can't keep a relationship together. You can't trust anyone. You can't love anyone. You know what I mean? And people are just their nerves are just stretched, singing tight. The reason we have an opioid epidemic is because of the number of unhappy people and lost people there are. Well, how is that possible when everyone says that everything is getting better all the time and it's real and life expectancy is going up? How could it be? How could it be with a number of middle-aged people that are taking themselves out every day? And for every one of them, there's 100 that at least have thought about it. Right? That's the fourth horseman. We're here.
It's an
We're here.
absolute. It's an absolute pantomime.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's brutal. It's really brutal. Buy now, don't stress. Oh, Kev, going into debt. Going into debt is too much.
Like,
stress.
I understand going into debt to buy a house, but $1 million.
Yeah, I get it.
Supreme, don't make me pull up and get you mad when you were at my store and I showed you what you could buy with $150, $150,000 in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible, and it used to be like that here not that long ago. Anybody here over the age of 40 will tell you the same thing. Anybody here under the age of 40, it wasn't like this 20 years ago, and the idea that it would be like this would be unthinkable.
Yeah. Remember when I was showing you those houses in Fort Worth, Texas? 7 bedrooms, 4,000 square feet, 150 grand?
Yeah. Yeah.
200 grand for a nice, remember those mansions we saw for like 370?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, that's incredible.
Like, but it's not one or two of them. How many thousands did we see?
Oh man, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. Canadian Girl, I would say if you could get something to rent instead of buy, I know financial advisors will tell you that rent is throwing your money away, but you know what? With housing prices as high as they are right now, and really they can't continue to go up the way they are, everything is just stretched thin and tight. I'm renting right now. I'm in my 50s. Okay, I'm not going to take out a 25-year mortgage. So yes, live somewhere inexpensive and save money. Build capital. Okay, you want to buy low so you can sell high. There's nothing low right now.
Yeah, I think
you know what I mean?
Canadian Girl,
just rent.
Canadian Girl, to be really frank too, and I completely agree with Supreme Canada on this. I think buying at that price, at the high prices they're at right now, I honestly think it's a severe handicap.
Yeah, you don't want to be you don't want to be tied down. You don't want to be anchored to something like that, because that's the thing.
Not
all
at that
these
price, because then you can't sell it back.
Yeah, and even if prices didn't crash, okay, and you spent $600,000 for a house or something like that, okay, you're stuck there. It's not as liquid as cash. It's not as liquid as holding stocks or bonds or something like that. It's not as liquid as it's wealth on paper. It's not money in your pocket until you sell it, right? Or unless you're one of the many people that have taken out home equity lines of credit, another little carrot they dangle in front of you. Well, it's your money. You should be able to spend it. It's brutal. It's really brutal. And I saw something on there too about taking out unsecured debt if you don't plan on paying it back. Actually, I think someone mentioned that in the comments on Saturday. I'm just going to max out my credit cards, buy gold and silver, and then I'll just declare bankruptcy. Well, you know what? Sometimes when you're being ripped off by the powers that be, getting them back a little bit it sounds good. It makes sense. But here's the thing: if we do have a deflation, a debt meltdown, okay, a price meltdown of not just housing but everything else, all right, it doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a jubilee. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to forgive your debt. They might let you refinance it, but they're not gonna take their hooks out of you. And the other thing is, it's a matter of integrity. Why would you borrow money that you never plan on paying back? That's not right. That's not good. That's not a good thing to do. And you're gambling anyway.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, they're stripping you and they're robbing you and they're using usury to, clean out your family wealth and everything else. Well, don't play their game. Stack some cash, stack some gold, silver, crypto if you believe in it, for crying out loud. Don't put everything into one thing. Mm-hmm. Just don't do it. I hear people, gold's going to $10,000 or Bitcoin's going to 100,000. Well, you don't know that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No one knows that. If you're doing the math, for crying out loud, do the spreadsheet and put it on Mike's community page and show us how you arrived at it. If you've got the magic formula, okay, here's some people that need it. Okay, but all of this is going to go up and this is going to go down and this is all going to, they're going to take us over and we're all going to live in pods and eat bugs. For crying out loud, we're going to fight. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's going to be war, civil war, if that happens.
Okay. Supreme, I want to just usher in this segment of the new segment here in the show. I want to thank everyone for joining this new segment called Toronto Garage Worth $600,000 segment of the show. $600,000 garage. It comes with these 3 plastic chairs in the back by this wooden rotted door. And it's got shingles on the side of the house. Those are not bricks on the top upper end. Don't get confused. And it does need a new roof, though. But $600,000 garage, guys. This is really nice. I really, 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 really want to stress that. This great deal here. This is an absolute opportunity of a lifetime. And this $600,000 garage, in my opinion, let's say in Vancouver, would probably be worth $2 million. But still, $600,000 in Toronto is an absolute deal. Now, let me show you guys what you could buy for $390,000 American. Almost a 4,000 square foot home, 5-bedroom, 4-bath. And it's been 169 days on Zillow. Property taxes, the lot's almost 7,000 square feet. You're paying $113 per square foot. and the property taxes are under $2,000 a year. So let's take a look at what you could get. You could buy that house, or you could buy this house or the garage. But I'd rather buy this house because it comes with a 2-car garage, and this one even comes furnished too. Not a lot of furnishings though, but enough to get you by to get started.
Yeah. Well, if you could have, if you could buy that lot for $600,000.
It's on the intercoastal too.
Nice.
So you could you park your boat here. Okay, everyone's complaining it's in Florida. Okay, fine. I live in Florida 5 years. I've been through a million hurricanes, and let me tell you, I'm still here. And it wasn't as fine. Okay, fine. Supreme, can you watch your screen?
Yeah.
Here goes. I found one in Lawrenceville, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. Look at that dream home. $367,000, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, almost 5,000 square feet. 3-car garage. Hold on. 3-car garage? This car's one garage. This is one garage in Toronto for $600,000. And look at this house. $367,150. That is $477,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
Do you see the photo?
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. Someone said on there, once you build, that property's worth over $1 million. Yeah, but if you have $600,000 burning a hole in your pocket, you could buy a house for $200,000 somewhere else and put that $400,000 into something else. You could probably
look at the house
in this same area in Georgia that you're looking at, Mike. You could buy something for $200,000, even if it's just a double wide trailer, and buy yourself a 4-plex somewhere with the rest, and that pays for your well, you wouldn't even have a mortgage.
Well, I
That
actually
would
like
that
this
would
one.
pay
I
for you to
actually like
go
this a
shoot
lot more.
guns all day. Woo!
Yeah, I think I'd take this house over the garage.
Yeah.
But it's only 367. That's 440. So you're looking at 600 large here. So
Yeah.
I mean, the garage is worthless. In reality, when you can get this, why would anyone spend 600 large in a garage when they could buy this house? Look at the land. It's on 2 acres of land. I just noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It's all
gorgeous.
It's all brick too, eh?
Yeah, I see that, and actually, I saw an article about houses that they build out of stone, the actual stone, like in Australia, and they're amazingly cheap to build. You can build houses like that from brick or from stone, and and high grade, not just limestone, but really really nice stone, and you could build a house for 100 grand. But you've got to buy the land, of course, and it's got to be, developed. You probably got to have an engineered septic if it's rural or something like that. There's always all kinds of ways they gouge you. Like there's cheap land in central BC, but by the time you put in your septic and your water and all the rest of that stuff and your services, it's not cheap anymore.
Wow,
the price
found a
of the land
plantation.
first.
I found a plantation in Alabama.
Yeah.
A nice plantation for $3.99. Let me see if I can find something in there's another plantation for sale here. 11 acres of land, $389. House is 4,200 square feet. 5 bedrooms, 6 baths.
Yeah, it can make you very envious. There'll be downsides to all of those things too.
Yeah, but you're not buying a garage for 600 grand, SA.
Yeah, that's true, and it's not in Toronto. Yeah, well, that's the thing. At least in Toronto, you don't have to worry about alligators.
Look at this one for
Right.
$399. Look at your screen, dude. If you get a sec there,
Yeah.
4,000 square feet. Oh, it's on a lake too.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's on a lake too, dude. It's got balconies. Ooh, look at that pool table.
Yeah, Papa Papus. Florida is the trailer park mentality of
We're
America's
not-
state.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we're-
that's true. There's even a Twitter site called Florida Man talking about the crazy things that show up in the paper for people
Well, this is
in
not
Florida.
This is in
Georgia.
no, we moved from Georgia. We're in Louisiana right now.
Yeah, well, that's literally next door, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, you don't like
It-
Georgia? Let's move to Texas then.
Oh, I don't know. I've never been, man.
Oh, I've been to Georgia. I love Georgia. I love the South.
Maybe I would love it.
Southern
it all looks like it's
hospitality,
beautiful.
you'll love the Southern hospitality. When I was in Georgia, it was all Southern hospitality, bud.
Yeah,
Everybody was just so nice to each other.
that's right. Yeah, you go buy your groceries and the cashier calls you sweetie or sugar or something like
Yeah.
that. It sounds like this place used to be.
Yeah, and like when I was at there was I think it was the Family Dollar. There was this lady working there, and she'd always say, "I know, honey, that's what makes them so delicious."
Yeah. Yeah, it's a simpler life, and in the end, that's what you want. It's not just a cheaper life; it's a simpler life, right? There's so many things that there's other things you have to worry about there, but on the other hand, there's a lot of things that you don't have to worry about. At least until the hurricanes come, right?
Here we go, Katy, Texas.
It's
There we
probably
go,
nice.
Katy, Texas. Here we go, right here. Take a look at that beast. $375. Price cut $10K. 4,000 square feet.
And they lowered the price.
Yeah.
So for some reason, these houses are low because, wages are probably proportionately lower. But the other side of the coin is that there's so many of those bloody houses, that were probably built on spec, and somebody really needs to move them. Mind you, on a $375,000 home, a $10,000 reduction is not that big of a reduction. It's probably just to get it back to the top of the search.
Yeah.
But it's
Holy crap, look at that walk-in closet. You could
Yeah,
park a
well-
car in there.
oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. What would a house like that cost in Merritt?
This house in Merritt, maybe like $660.
Yeah. Yeah, but it'd
Maybe
be worth it.
$700,000 in Merritt, like this kind of house. And then if you wanted to buy this house in Vancouver, what do you think this would cost in Vancouver?
Oh my God. Yeah, you better win the lottery.
Because if that one was, remember that one that was $5.5 million at 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-bedroom, Okay, here, look. Canadian girl says Katie is awesome. My best friend lives in Katy, Texas. She bought a 2,000 square foot 2 years ago for $100,000. New construction.
Yeah. Yeah, I could believe it. Yeah. Yeah, they're gorgeous places. And the fact is that part of the country too, there's a lot of economic expansion going on.
There is.
Their tax structure is lower, and a lot of people are moving probably out of the northern states and moving there. But it's still big enough and still comparatively undeveloped that housing prices are manageable. If their population went up 20% or half the population of California picked up and moved to Georgia, it wouldn't be that cheap for long.
Yeah, look at this one here. New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, beautiful area, beautiful starter home for a family, for a starting out family. $259. That's 330,000 Canadian. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, on 0.5 acre of land. What a beautiful house to start a family. What a beautiful home.
Yeah, to start a family. Good God, up here, that's baby boomers' dream homes.
And
that's the ones they build for themselves after the kids leave.
And it has a little. It looks like it's a little home in the back of the house by the basketball court, like a little home,
Yeah.
like
little mother-in-law
what's that
suite.
for? Yeah. And then there's the house there. There's the basketball court there. Lots of land. Oh, they're concrete flooring too. It's got it's got a poured concrete foundation. Oh my God. You put some vapor barrier and you put some a floating floor, and then you put a nice hardwood on top. This place is booming, man.
Yeah, that place by itself would be a nice home, wouldn't it?
Well, they got the hardwood flooring here. Oh, I see what it is. It's the guest house in the back. The guest house in the back isn't finished. Okay, the house is finished as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. The house is complete. It's ready to go. It's the guest house. The flooring isn't done. Okay. I got it. I see what's going on here. The guest house in the back. Yeah, this is a great family starter home to get a family started,
Oh, man. Yeah, no, that'd be the lap of luxury. People would work their whole lives for a house like that, not a place to start a family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope they haven't put the wall up yet. Here I come. No kidding, eh?
Yeah, Tucson, Arizona. Wow, this looks like, some of these homes look like, when you go on those, when you go away to those all-inclusive vacations?
Yeah.
Take a look at your screen. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3,000 square feet.
Wow. That looks like a resort, doesn't it?
It does, like that kind of feeling with the palm trees everywhere. And, man, we're getting gypped in Canada, man. We're getting really, you know why? It's because there's not enough cities in Canada to allow intermigration of us to move around. In Texas, let's go to Texas right now. Now, in Texas, look at this. You got Fort Worth, you got Dallas, you got Houston, you got Beaumont, you got Galveston, you got Corpus Christi, you got San Antonio, Austin, Odessa, Lubbock, Amarillo. You got so many places you could potentially. San Angelo is growing right now. Midland, Katy. You got Roxwell. You got all these places that you could potentially move to if you don't like the city you're in. But if you're in Canada and you don't like Vancouver, there's not many options to move anywhere else after. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to major cities.
Yeah, no, there isn't. No, you got to get south of the 49th parallel. Below the Mason-Dixon line, they don't get a lot of winter. So the whole southern half of the U.S., it can get uncomfortably warm too. Obviously, there's lots of desert. But the more fertile areas, there's lots of room, and they have hundreds of cities in America that are over 100. A city of 100,000 isn't even barely considered a city. No. Down there, whereas here it's a big deal.
Look
right?
Okay, look at this here. This is a great house for Gary Medeiros. A beautiful starter family house right here. Look at this, beautiful home. Look at the structure, all brick, masonry work. Beautiful interior, nice flooring, beautiful kitchen, beautiful vaulted ceilings, crown moldings, marble counters. What a beautiful layout. all open concept. Beautiful house, got a pool, and they're asking $250,000, 5 bedrooms, 3 baths in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, that's insane. I see someone here, Watton Forest, Cali. Mike Martins, check houses in El Cajon, California, please.
El Cajon?
El Cajon.
El Cajon. That is
Cajon.
El Cajon. I think I could find that on the map. I know where that is. Hold on.
Yeah, take my money now. No kidding.
Isn't that... Where's El Cajon? Is it south of Santa Ana? Where is it, buddy? I think I saw it here before. There's nothing going for $400,000 in California. El Cajon. Sorry, El Cajon, California. Here it is. Yeah, there it is here, but there's nothing going for $400,000.
Yeah, East San Diego, he said.
Oh, East San Diego. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's south of Santa Ana. No, it's you see, you got to go high for the price range. You need like any price. Here we go. $939,000, $800,000, $1.2 million, $1 million, 800. This is American money too, eh? But
Yeah.
still, this house in El Cajon, California, this house, right? It's still better than that $5.5 million bungalow, 2,000 square feet we saw.
Oh, by far. Yeah. It's just we don't have a lot of places in Canada that are ideal to have a large city, right? Like Toronto is on the Great Lakes. Vancouver obviously is on the ocean. Our weather is colder and longer. We're just, we're just hewers of wood and drawers of water here. Every town has its financial district, and it has its professional class and working class and everything else. It's just that there's no priority on keeping industries going for young people to work and have families, unless you work in the trades. Mm-hmm. Right? There's no place for unskilled workers to have a middle class lifestyle like they could 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're spot on with that one.
Yeah, and it's and a lot of it is I mean, I don't want to drag them into everything. A lot of it is boomers. Moving places. We've seen articles about boomers that built these huge dream homes and now they can't sell them because millennials don't want to buy them. So they blame it on millennials. Millennials are killing the housing market. Well, no, they're not. They don't make the kind of money that those people made proportionately at the same age. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have gone to school to get the same professions as their elders, and those professions pay less now proportionately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're screwed, man. Like I'm trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm really trying to make sense of this. It's not easy.
No, it isn't. It isn't. It's stretching and tight in so many places. Obviously, there's lots of places in the United States that are ridiculously unaffordable too. And but most of those are coastal areas.
You have a choice. Okay, you don't want to live in California. It's unaffordable. That's fine. Then move to Arizona. Move to New Mexico. Move to Yuma. Move to freaking Phoenix. Move anywhere. In Canada, you're screwed. We don't have a Phoenix in Canada.
Yeah.
We don't have an Albuquerque.
Or pick a town of, a small town of 50 to 100,000 people, right? In Canada, that's a metropolis. Mm-hmm. Down there, 50,000 is just an average sized city in some obscure county in Iowa or something, Mm-hmm. They've got 10 times the population, and there's an economy of scale involved in that too. Plus, there's a lot of things in the States that they trade freely between states. Whereas Canada, you think of Canada more like an upside down ice cube tray. Like you've got these 10 provinces. They don't even have free trade between the provinces. Look at the trouble we're having getting a pipeline to Tidewater. But that's because the whole coastal area that we have, in the Lower Mainland mainly is overbuilt and urbanized, and they don't want that stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they had their way, they'd probably do away with Coal Harbor and those big piles of sulfur and stuff like that too. They'd get rid of all that so they could put in more condos and running tracks, right?
Right.
And seawalls. Like they just get rid of industry altogether because they don't understand that we got to have that stuff.
I'm seeing a house here right now for $14 million, and I think this house in Vancouver would be like 50, 60, 70 million dollars. It looks like a casino.
Yeah.
The house looks like a freaking casino. And yeah, I'm just looking at this here. I'm at 14 million bucks, and you see these 30, 40 million dollar homes in Vancouver. It's actually like they're uncomparable. It's uncomparable.
Well, they're mansions. They're incredible places.
Dude, this is bigger than a high school, man.
Yeah. Yeah, the place is insane. And that's the thing about the wealth effect too, Mike, is if you have a neighborhood where the houses are all, what you would call upper end, but not like that, and then someone comes in and buys 2 city lots and then builds something like that, obviously their neighbors will be happy because when you're living next door to a $40 million mansion, your place automatically goes up in price without you even so much as mowing the lawn. That sounds real good, but it's such a constricted space in Vancouver. Space is at such a premium that, where do you go after you sell? You have to move inland. These people that have got all this real estate equity, well, it's not cash. So they have to, either they get a reverse mortgage or something like that and start draining their equity, especially the ones that didn't have kids. They don't have to worry about passing anything to the next generation, right? They just spend it all.
See, look, Clearwater, Florida. Look, two bedroms, 2 bath, 890 square feet, $50,000 in Clearwater.
Yeah.
50 grand. Most people could purchase this on a credit card. Look, if you're on a tight budget, you have a small family, or you're just trying to get by. Look at this. Beautiful parking, beautiful community pool that's in a gated community. You're in a gated community here. You're on a lake, and you got pools, and you got tennis courts. $50,000.
Yeah. Zombie apocalypse scary. You're right. Low interest rates caused this bubble. They dropped the interest rates to try to climb out of the 2000 recession.
It's not going to fix it.
Yeah, no, it's not. Of course it isn't. And that's the problem. The rates were close to zero, and there was a hazard with getting to the zero bound because, if interest rates are 5% and they go up to 5.5%, what's that? That's a 10% increase in borrowing costs. Okay. But if interest rates are 2%, right, and they go up to 2.5%, which doesn't seem like much, that's a 25% increase in borrowing costs. Plus, the kind of leverage that you can get with, half the cost of money doubles the price of houses. So you reach a situation where you're making enormous payments. And if interest rates even go up 0.5% or a quarter point, they came dangerously close to the stock market and the credit markets running out of capital. That's why you have this $75 billion a day injection of fresh money.
Yeah, we've been covering
system.
that on Can't Read Market Talk in the mornings.
Yeah, a lot of people are covering it right now because it is big news. Basically, the Fed is signaling that they can't get off zero.
Look, here's a perfect starter home. Someone that's really on a tight budget or just lost a loved one and really needs to scale back. Right here, Waco, Texas. $50,000. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,400 square feet.
Yeah, it's a comfortable little home.
$36 per square foot.
Yeah, comfortable little home. Completely equipped, everything you need, probably a big backyard. You could raise a family there. Millions of people lived on lots.
If times got really tight or if things got wrong real fast, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, they fell apart. But the problem is people didn't see that it was falling apart because everybody was fully employed building houses to sell to each other. Right? Everyone was making good wages, swinging a hammer and putting up condos and townhouses and of course, all the infrastructure that goes. And then the cities were taking all that tax money and building new highways and overpasses and, announcing new drug recovery programs and all this stuff, and people were using all that easy money that they were getting from their jobs to leverage themselves into debt with even more easy money, so that they could have cars and quads and boats and a full collection of AR-15s in every color of the rainbow or whatever you wanted. Okay, and then finally it all blew up. And that's the thing. It wasn't just people spending all of this money. It was also all of the collateralized debt obligations and these mortgage-backed securities.
And the deleveraging of banks to fill in voids, and then the government coming in to spoof the banks and help them out and keep them from basically going underwater. And then all the wire fraud, all the bank fraud, all the RICO conspiracy right now, and the silver and gold and metal spoofing and oil spoofing and the false flags.
Yeah, that's right. The tide is going out. Now we're figuring out who was swimming with no pants on the whole time. Right? So that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to make the tide come back in, by any means necessary. If they have to get cruise ships to cruise back and forth to keep the waves coming in, so that the tide, appears to not go out, then that's what they're going to do, because they want to get reelected.
Here we go. I found a nice house. Huntsville, Alabama. Here it is on Google Maps. $71,000. That's perfect. That's perfect. Look, you got a big driveway, 2-car garage. You got a big lawn to mow. This is perfect for a family.
Yeah, and that's economy of scale too, Mike, because interest rates are low there too, right? Like, and these are places that are not, $700,000.
Right, $71,000. Let's say even if rates go up to, let's say, 5%. Your payment will barely move because you're only leveraging $71,000.
Yeah, it's not a whole hell of a lot. It's $50 or $60 a month either way. Like, it's not that big of a deal, because if prices are low. But when prices get high like they have here, then it's incredibly painful. And if interest rates, borrowing costs went up, from 2% to 4%. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you double the borrowing costs on a $600,000 condo, you're out of business.
Dude,
you're declaring bankruptcy. You're living in a tent.
You know what? I would honestly consider buying a place like this in Birmingham, Alabama. 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,700 square feet, $58,000. I actually would consider buying a small little place like this to bring my family down and stay maybe a month or 2 months of the winter.
Yeah.
Like, look at this. Like, this is a beautiful little quaint home, $58,000, and you are looking at. It's got forced air for air conditioning and heat. You need air conditioning in these kind of places because it gets pretty warm in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's on half of acre of land, $58,000, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's like, ooh, look at this one, $104,000. This is a nice house. Beautiful Victorian-style house, Victorian-style wraparound porch. It actually has real hardwood flooring in the house, like real hardwood flooring. Wow. Crown moldings, really nice build. What are they asking? $104,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2,200 square feet. Your estimate mortgage payment is $475 a month, including property tax.
Yeah, if you've got some scratch in the bank and you're getting to a point where you'd like a place to go for the winter and you can afford that kind of a thing, that's perfect. I mean, just about anywhere in the southern states or southern latitudes. You may not necessarily be living on the coast unless it's the Gulf of Mexico or something, or you buy in Florida. Okay, but if you want a $50,000 or $60,000 just a summer place somewhere where it's not Canadian winter, you can pick it up for $50,000 or $60,000 US. Easy.
I'm looking at it right here, and I mean, a place like this to go away for a little while and just maybe poke around different cities and maybe stay up maybe 2 months of the year or something. 104 large. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. This is a great place. You could easily probably rent this thing out for like $600 a month.
Oh, probably. Yeah, very likely.
You
could.
Yeah, $475 for the mortgage. You could rent this out for $600 a month. Easy. It's 2-story.
I think you could. I don't know what rentals prices are like there, but your payments are low. So as long as the cost of ownership is being covered, and you've got a good tenant, so you're not going in and having to spend $5,000 doing repairs, before you move in for the winter. Yeah, I don't see why not. You could buy 5 places like that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what people do. They buy multiple homes and then rent them out. My parents have a place in, I'm not sure what they paid for it, but it wasn't very much. But they live in one of those, those RV sites with the park model trailers in Yuma, and they're there 5 months every winter. And the place is, it's constantly patrolled by security, and they've got, they've got Mexicans going through and taking care of the landscaping and making sure the termites don't get away on you, and keeping the cactus and the Gila monsters from taking over. And it's very reasonable, and it's hot, but not too hot, and it's just a nice setting.
JMG TV is saying, unfortunately, I think Liberals will get elected again and keep feeding this dying market.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible that they get elected again. But it could be a minority government, because you've got the NDP, which is kind of selling out to the Greens. Okay, and then you've got the Bernier and the PPC, which might siphon some votes away from the Conservatives. In my heart, I'd like to give Bernier a chance. But one thing I didn't know about him is, before he started his own party and before he ran for Conservative leader, apparently he was part of the Bloc Québécois. He was a separatist. Yeah, maybe he gave up on that and decided maybe we'll just try to fix Canada for Quebec's sake instead of this other thing, So I don't know. Maybe he realized that it was a non-starter. Why would Quebec want to leave when they're getting the kind of money from Western Canada they've been getting? I mean, there's things about it they don't like, but
yeah. Anyway, Supreme, I'm going to let you go. It's getting late. It's getting late here. I'm going to go.
Yeah, it's pushing 9. Yeah.
I'm going to go tuck in my kids. I appreciate you coming on for all this time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
I like bringing up these $70,000 homes to get you upset,
Oh, it works, man. It always works.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
It is what it is. Well, it's something to strive for, right? So, it's good there, folks. So it could be good here again too. Yeah, it's going to be ugly for a while. So dig in, but I don't think we're going to be Japan 2.0. I think we're going to see a big sea change, and it'll either be political or it'll be economic. But something is going to come along, and it's going to change things. But you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to be tough.
Don't panic.
Fortunately, you're Canadians, right? Stiff upper lip and all that. Okay, just work the system as it is. Protect yourselves, and better days ahead. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks,
God bless,
buddy.
Mike.
Thanks,
everyone. Talk soon. You bet.
Anyways, guys, I wanted to throw this out there for you guys. Just to, you see, no one's asking for free housing. Nobody. I don't know a single person that wants a free house. All I'm hearing is people want affordable, fair housing. People want this opportunity like we had in Canada. $104,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, a beautiful starter home. This is what people want. Nobody wants, look, on a big piece of land, look at it on the map. On a big piece of land, this is what people want. People want $104,000 homes. People want fair housing. They don't want free housing. People, a lot of the baby boomers are saying, oh, these young people, all they want is free housing now. They don't want to pay for their housing. No, they jumped on the market when it was cheap. They bought everything when it was cheap. And no, it doesn't work like that. People want this kind of stuff. A good starter home for the family, $100,000, 4 bedrooms, 2 bath. Great to raise a few kids in. Great to swing on the porch in the summer. There's lots available out there, but unfortunately in Canada, we're not getting... Same thing in Australia. Same thing in New Zealand. It's the same thing. But then you go to America the Great, and housing is still very reasonable to pick up a nice starter home to start a family. See, this house in Vancouver with this land, probably $3-4 million bucks. This house in Longview, Texas, $100,000. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not protesting for free housing. I just want it fair to wages. That's all. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking anyone to change water into wine here. Yeah, house prices, Anthony D saying average salary in Toronto is $59,137. That's the average salary, okay? Not minimum salary, average. House prices should be 3-4 times the yearly income, max. So the average house should be $235 to 400 max for the average income earner. Not $900,000 and $1 million for this, when you could buy this for $100,000 in Longview, Texas. So that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for free housing. All I'm asking is fair pricing. That's it. Anyways, guys, I'm tired, guys. I'm starting to wind down now. It's been a long day. It's almost 9 p.m. It's time. It's time for me to hit the hay. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd like to know. And don't forget to support me on Patreon. Hopefully, I could get to 20 Patreon supporters by Christmas. And don't forget to go to the channel and support. Guys, up top here, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm also on Patreon. And you could tip me in the PayPal tip jar if you want. So, $1 a month on Patreon. Someone just donated on Patreon again, so I got one new subscriber. I'm going to save the next 2 months' money, and I want to buy a green screen behind me to change the background once in a while. Not too much, but a few times to change the mood, you know? So, Mike, when do you reckon we should do? The problem is it's really hard to get anything done right now at the cost of what everything costs right now, especially with all these bank frauds and the RICO conspiracy that we're going through in the metals markets. Let's see what happens to the end of first quarter in North America, and let's see what happens then in 2020 first quarter, and then we can start gauging. And then we can start gauging what to do going forward, guys. Yeah. Anyways, guys, let me leave you a link here to, where was that? My Instagram here, guys. If you want to follow Mike Martins on Instagram, please follow me on Instagram if you're bored and got nothing going on. Just go ahead and follow me there on Instagram. And if you want to support me on Patreon, I use all the money to buy coffee and to actually buy things for the transmission. And you know what's nice? I bought a solid-state hard drive for this computer with the money, AdSense money I got from YouTube. So I am using it for the right things, guys. I am putting it back into the transmission. Before you know it, I'll be probably on a private plane broadcasting for you. I'm just joking. I would never want to go that far. Yeah, it's insane on how much this crap costs. Yeah, exactly. When you could just buy this house for $100,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and your mortgage payment's $541 a month, including property tax included in your monthly payment. I mean, I'm not sure how to explain this. I'm not sure how I could do. Canada's in a position like, what do we do as Canadians when we're stuck in only 3 major cities we could live in? You know? Oh, here's a mini house. But it's in New Orleans. New Orleans is nice, too. I could sit here and look at these things. $100,000. Kimberly St. Alexandria. $100,000. Brick finish. Hurricane shutters on the windows. Ceramic flooring. Hardwood flooring. Backyard. Couple of closets. Grand piano. $100,000. 2-car garage. Oh no! You could buy this garage in Toronto for $600,000 for one garage. Anyways, guys, comment below. Let me know. I don't want to depress anybody anymore. If you got an answer to this problem we have, leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.